Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
What is going on, everybody? I go by RB, and this is Philly Take with RB. Like always, if you guys are enjoying the content of this channel, be sure to smash that like button for me, hit that subscribe if you're new, and hit that notification bell so you're instantly notified whenever I upload or go live. And today, we are back discussing some Philadelphia 76ers, and boom, we have a new potential coaching candidate that the Sixers could be interested in. If you guys have not heard by now, late last night, the OKC Thunder announced that they will not be retaining Billy Donovan, whose coach expired at the end of the season, who came maybe just a few points from heading to the second round of the playoffs with Chris Paul and a bunch of other guys who were not even expected to make the playoffs. So a lot of people are talking Billy Donovan, the Sixers, should they be linked? Kevin Connor from the NBA came out and said that he's expected to be on the radar potentially for the Philadelphia 76ers throughout this coaching hire, which, by the way, the draft, free agency, and all got pushed back, so we got some more time to evaluate this. But yeah, let's talk about Billy Donovan. So, a little bit about Billy Donovan. Was an amazing college coach for 16 years at the University of Florida. Ended up going, I think, 14, or I think it was out of 18 years. 18 years, I think he went 14 times to the NCAA tournament. Ended up winning 2 titles back-to-back in 06 and 07 with no other than Al Horford. We're going to talk about that. Billy Donovan was a great college coach. He was one of those guys they tried to bring up to the NBA later on. Spent the last 5 seasons with the OKC Thunder and made the playoffs every single year, even though he only surpassed 50 wins one time, which is pretty interesting. Got to coach the likes of Kevin Durant for a year, Russell Westbrook, Paul George, Carmelo Anthony, Chris Paul, and a bunch of other guys. So there is a lot to talk about. I will first give my opinion. Billy Donovan, to me, again, there's a recurring theme throughout this whole coaching pool and everything. There's not one perfect candidate. There's not one guy where every team is going to flock to and say that is the main guy on this market, just to be quite honest with you. Now, I've heard throughout the last day, ever since they announced this, the Chicago Bulls are going to be high on Billy Donovan, maybe the Sixers, maybe even some of these other teams like the Pacers potentially. But Billy Donovan will be in the top list for a lot of people just because he has that NBA and that playoff experience. And like I said, for what he was able to do this last year, kind of reviving himself because a lot were starting to lose hope on him, and he was able to take that team to a Game 7. But in my opinion, Billy Donovan is not nearly the best coach, but he's not the worst. All right, he'll give you a 40-50 win season. He'll bring you to the playoffs. But there's some good and there's some bad. In my opinion, he would not be in my top 3. Billy Donovan should not be one of the top candidates on the list for the Philadelphia 76ers, and we are going to talk about why. So let's start with the good. Like I said, Billy Donovan has a lot of credentials, a lot of experience on the collegiate and the NBA level. Has been actually more successful on the collegiate level. But Billy Donovan has been able to get the best out of his players as of late, right? Like this last year, we saw him elevate guys. I mean, they had a guard-heavy team, and even though he made it to the playoffs throughout his first 5 years, I mean, honestly, this last year might have been his most impressive with a team that had no chance of making the playoffs with a guard-heavy team with, Dennis Schroeder and Lou Dort and guys like that around Chris Paul. They were able to come out here, and he was able to get the best out of his players. Billy Donovan is a guy who I think understands the X's and the O's. He'll make the right adjustments. I feel like Billy Donovan, the Thunder were a lot more heavy in terms of pick and rolls this year because Billy Donovan knows that Chris Paul was there, and they had to adjust their offense. So I think Billy Donovan can make some necessary adjustments when it comes to kind of fitting the style of how he likes to play. Like I said, they used a lot of pick and rolls. They were guard heavy. They also had a big man like Steven Adams, who's a dog down low. So they had some weapons to work with, but Billy Donovan was definitely able to get the best out of them. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to develop in his second year, a nice prospect that they got. And I just think with all hope lost, Billy Donovan was able to at least inspire some of these players. He's even been known to do well with 2 big men lineups, back in the day, not just in college, but also in the NBA when they had Enes Kanter alongside Steven Adams. So there are some positives about Billy Donovan. I think he is a smart basketball mind. But on the other side, there are also some things that we need to talk about because Billy Donovan, We'll first start with this. Obviously, he had 1 year of Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, and that was kind of his first taste with stars. It was his first taste in the NBA, and we know what happened. They got to the conference finals against the Warriors. They were up 3-1, and I remember watching every game of that series. It just seemed like their whole identity just discombobulated. All right, we knew there was tension between Russ and KD, and we didn't think that they, like, after the fact, it didn't feel like they believed in what Billy Donovan was doing. And while everything was breaking down, he really did not make any adjustments in that series, any specific adjustments to the opponent. And we saw, KD kind of get fizzled out a little bit, and they just stopped doing what was working. Something hit them. And when we saw that kind of tension between those stars, Billy Donovan did not step in. All right, there's been times in the past, even Dennis Schroeder talked about Billy Donovan this year, saying that there's times where Billy Donovan gets a little bit too lenient. He doesn't want to be the guy to step in. Now, there's times where he does, but there's also times where he kind of lets the players control the pace and doesn't step in. And I see that myself watching the games. Sometimes he's fired up, but then there's other times, almost like Brett Brown, where he just sits on the bench and he's kind of not involved. He doesn't have that demanding voice, and it kind of makes me question if the guys truly believe what he is putting out at times. It kind of makes me question that. But he failed that series. They came back from 3-1. We know how that experiment ended. He was given another set of stars, Russell Westbrook, Paul George. He was even given Carmelo Anthony, but it feels like those guys were never able to find the right rhythm. You know what I mean? It just never fit together. So I have a question when it comes to stars, because I don't know if Billy Donovan can lead stars all the way to the NBA championship. He can lead them to the first round, the second round, but can Billy Donovan consistently get the best out of his players? Can he get the best out of his stars and demand respect? That is up in the air for me, and that is a big no-no, because with guys like Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, well, he's going to need to do that on a consistent basis. That is the type of leader that we need. Now, with Ben Simmons, I'm sure Billy Donovan having his guards and knowing how to utilize guards to the best of their ability, I think Billy Donovan would be able to use Ben Simmons in a variety of roles. I mean, I think with the pick and rolls, he would use Ben Simmons on both sides. In terms of Joel Embiid, yeah. He coached big men before in college. He made them into dominant big men, Al Horford. But Joel Embiid's a different beast. Is Billy Donovan going to do the best that he can to get the most out of Joel Embiid? Al Horford's a tricky one. I know Al Horford would love reuniting with his old coach. I mean, why not, right? Why not? If we do keep Al Horford, well, I think Billy Donovan would be able to get a lot out of Al Horford, but I also think we would end up seeing two big men lineup, and I don't know if I want to see that again. Let's not even forget, there have been guys, and people tend to forget this, that OKC actually, before this whole debacle where they go ahead and give everyone away and just accumulate the most picks as possible, there were some really good players on OKC that we kind of forget about. I mentioned Victor Oladipo, who was a nice two-way guard alongside Russell Westbrook, who never panned out there. Domantas Sabonis, he's another one, right? I mean, Sabonis was never able to get his traction under him. Those two go to the Indiana Pacers, and now they're stars. I mean, Sabonis had a great year, and Oladipo has been balling ever since he left OKC. So there's other guys that we also have to remember. I do think Billy Donovan's best chance to win a chip was when he had KD and Russ, but it just blew up, and he was not able to get the best out of them. Billy Donovan, yes, he's a great coaching candidate, but I don't think that I've seen enough in terms of what he can do with stars. We have given him a lot of stars. He has not been able to kind of correlate their relationships. I don't think he is looked at as the biggest leader ever. He's not that guy that's going to flip everything and get on you every single night. I mean, Billy Donovan is a smart coach, but in terms of what this team needs, as we've been talking about, we need a guy who will constantly, every night, hold this team accountable and will not be afraid to come out and say how they feel. And just by some of the things that I've seen personally and some of the things I've heard, it just doesn't seem like Billy Donovan is that kind of guy. But like I said, Billy Donovan kind of revived his coaching career this season. Was in the Coach of the Year voting. Again, got to a Game 7 against the Houston Rockets that they had no business being in, with Chris Paul running the offense and him leading as well. Overall, no one expected anything, and that was the best time for Billy Donovan to come out and kind of change some things up, which he did. So he can make adjustments, but I don't know if I've seen enough from Billy Donovan. He will definitely be a viable candidate. He will be out there seeked by a lot of teams, but is he exactly what the Sixers need? I don't think so at this current time. We'll see how this coaching cruise continues to go. Billy Donovan will be a viable candidate, and he should absolutely be involved in the interview process. He should be at least in the pool of candidates to at least give an opportunity for the Sixers. But in the end, I don't think he is exactly what this team needs right now, and that's just my opinion. I don't think he would hold these guys accountable enough and be the leader that we need at this point in time, coming off what we just came off in the playoffs. But that's just my opinion. You guys let me know all your thoughts down below in the comments section. What do you think of Billy Donovan? Should he be one of the top candidates for the Philadelphia 76ers? Give me all your thoughts down below in the comments section. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.